Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new semester. I'm Professor Solomon, and this is Consumer Behavior. Very excited to get started with you all, and of course, to have the opportunity to meet you all in person very soon. But for today, what I'd like to do is just take a little time to do the boring stuff. That is, I want to talk to you a little bit about the course and the requirements and all that good stuff. And then once I do that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why this course is so important and why it's my favorite course to teach, certainly. And I hope it'll be your favorite course that you've taken when you're all done. So I'm going to get started, and the way I'm going to do that is hopefully you've had the chance to download the syllabus from Canvas. If you haven't done that, please make sure that you do. And I'm going to be referring to that syllabus. You'll find it under Files. I'm going to be referring to that here. I'm definitely not going to read the whole thing. You're all capable of doing that. I really urge you to just take a few minutes and read everything there. And you've already heard from me, gotten a message from me about the extra credit syllabus quiz that's available. So you might as well jump on there and grab yourself a point or so and get off to a good start if you'd like. So anyway, I'm going to get started. Just going to hit some of the high points, and you'll have to excuse me. My voice is a little hoarse. Just recovering from a cold, but I hope you can all understand me and hope to be back to 100% pretty soon. So as I go through this, if you have any questions at all, if there's anything that you're confused about, by all means, please drop me an email and I will answer you as soon as I can. And if I think that the question is important enough, if it applies to everybody else, I'll share that answer with the rest of the class as well. So make sure to do that. And by the way, whenever possible, please use email to reach me, not the messaging stuff on Canvas. I will be looking at that, but I look at email much more religiously than I do at Canvas. So you'll see my contact information on the top of the first page of the syllabus. You'll see my email address there. That's the primary way to communicate with me. And of course, if we need to, we can always hop on a good old-fashioned phone call, or I'm happy to set up a Zoom meeting between the two of us and we can talk through various things. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen here, and then we can get started. All right, here we go. Here we go. Welcome to the course. Again, I'm not going to read all of this stuff, but I urge you to do so. We're talking here about some of the course objectives. Again, we're going to dive into that a little more when I'm done going through all the nuts and bolts of the course. The required text for the course is a personal favorite of mine. You may recognize the author. Yes, it's me. This is a book that I have been writing for many, many years. I hope you'll enjoy it. It is available at the SJU bookstore. And I want to stress that you will need both the book. You can get the book, I believe, in a rental version, or you can get it in an online version. And no matter how you get it, you do need access to my marketing lab. So you can do that at the SJU bookstore. They will not be able to give you a print copy of the book, but they will give you the information that you need to get that. By the way, I should say that the book is not just a bunch of my notes that I've thrown together. I'm kind of proud to say this is the most widely used textbook on consumer behavior worldwide, as you can see here. It's in the 13th edition, which means I've been writing it and revising it and updating it for many, many years. And again, I hope you'll enjoy it. It's used in many business schools, not just in the United States, but around the world. And as I note here in the syllabus, for ethical reasons, I don't believe in requiring students to buy a book and then I make money off of that. So you may or may not know that if you ever buy a used book, just like when you pirate a music track or something like that, the artist or the author actually doesn't make any money on that at all. It's only if you buy a new version of that. So if you have bought a new version of the book that you're keeping, you can drop me a note, and any royalties that I might make on that, I will donate to charity. Okay, so let's get into the elephant in the room, which is, how is COVID going to affect this course? We've all lived through this now. I think we've got a much better idea of how to handle everything. Doesn't mean we're happy about it, but we're going to make whatever adjustments we have to make. So this class is in what we're calling a high flex format, which means that, and again, I think you all know this, when we're meeting live, half of the class will be meeting in the live classroom and the other half will be meeting on Zoom. And then the next time we do that, we'll be flipping so that the group that met in class the last time, they're going to meet virtually this time, and vice versa. So that's going to happen a fair amount, but there will also be days like today where instead I'm going to ask you to watch a pre-recorded lecture, and in that case, you don't need to come to the classroom. We are going to be doing a fair amount of group work in here. I think you're going to enjoy that. When we're doing some significant group work, again, it's very difficult logistically to have some of the group in class and some of the group on Zoom. So on those days, everybody will be meeting on Zoom. And I will let you know when that's happening. So for example, our next class on Thursday, we will all be meeting on Zoom, and I'll remind you of that later, but we'll all be meeting on Zoom on Thursday. So we'll be dividing into two groups, the gray group and the crimson group. And as it says here, if your last name starts A through M, you are in group gray, and otherwise you are in group crimson. Okay, just some guidelines about this. You're all used to meeting on Zoom by now. Please make sure that you mute your microphone, unless, of course, you want to say something, which is great. But keep your video open. If I see your video is closed, I will ask you to open it so that I can see you and interact with you. Okay, all this other stuff I think is pretty standard. So again, read through this and of course shoot any questions to me that you'd like. Okay, the big question, how do I get graded? Well, we have a lot of moving parts in this class here, as you're going to see. There's a lot of different ways that I'm going to grade you, and this is kind of a response to my customers, so to speak. You all are my customers, and I want to meet your needs and make you happy if I can. And over the years, students have told me they'd rather have a lot of smaller things than just one or two big things on which their grade depends. So I've listened to that, and here's what we've got. So class participation is going to count for 5%. We're going to have here, so here's the maybe some good news. We're going to have a total of 4 tests during the semester, each one on a small number of chapters. They will all be multiple choice tests. The good news is that I believe that everyone is entitled to a bad hair day. And so even though we will have 4 tests, I will only grade 3. So I'm going to be dropping your lowest grade. That means if you happen to screw up on one test, or if you miss a test inadvertently, that test will count as a 0, and we'll just count the other 3. By the same token, if you've taken the first 3 tests and you're happy with how you did on those, just don't take the 4th test. Don't even tell me that you're not going to take it. I'll see that you didn't take it, and that'll be the one I drop. So I hope you like that. We're going to be doing some stuff in the marketing lab. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And the field exercises, which is a kind of get your hands dirty stuff that I think you'll really enjoy. I'll talk more about that. We're going to be dividing into groups. And as I said, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in groups throughout the semester so that you're not just watching me on Zoom or in the classroom. I should say here, and again, I'll remind you of this, if you happen to know other people in the class and you want to work with them in a group, I will do my best to accommodate you. If that's the case, I ask that somebody emails me, not Canvas, but email by the end of well, let's say by Thursday. And in that case, I will do my best to put you together in a group. The groups will have about 6 to 7 people in a group. So even if you have 1 or 2 or 3 people that you want to work with, let me know that, and then I'll put you together. I'll add in some other people. If there's no one that you know or that you want to work with, that's perfectly fine. You're going to make some new friends. Don't worry about it. I'll be assigning everybody randomly to groups. Okay, the grading scale you can read about. I do curve the grades. And so depending on how well the class does, I'm going to curve those up or down. I'll let you read more about that. Okay, all of this is, I think, pretty straightforward. Here's something that's important, though. As I said, there's a lot of moving parts in this course, a lot of ongoing small assignments. I strongly recommend do yourself a favor, take a few minutes sometime this week, use whatever kind of diary or calendar that you use, whether it's a digital one or it's a old school paper and pencil one. Just take a few minutes, go through the syllabus, and write down when assignments are due. I will, for the most part, not be reminding you of that. And I do this on purpose because when you get out in the real world and you're working at a real company or what have you, I can assure you your boss is not going to stop by your desk and remind you that you have a report that's due tomorrow at 5 o'clock or whatever. So this is my small way of helping you to get organized. And if you do that at the beginning, you should not have any problems keeping track of all the things that are required. Okay, my marketing lab. Most of you, or if not all of you, have used my marketing lab already. Certainly, if you took Principles of Marketing, which you all should have taken, you used it there. It's a really great way to help you to study, to help you learn. There's a lot of material that we're going to cover in this course. It's a very important course in your marketing education, and we have a lot of ground to cover. So one of the ways that I do this is something where I say students hate me for this at the beginning, and then they thank me by the end of the course. And I've had that happen to me many, many times. Why do I say that? I'm going to ask you to actually read a chapter that's assigned in a given class before that class. And in my marketing lab, you will need to take a quiz, a short quiz on that chapter and pass that quiz. Now, you might say, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I can assure you when it comes time to studying for tests and so on, that's when you'll be thanking me because not that you'll know everything in the chapters, but you will have been exposed to all the material. You'll have read it at least once, and it will make your life a whole lot easier. Okay, so please make sure that you read assigned chapters before class. The great thing for me about that is that I can assume that you understand the basics of the chapter, and that means I don't have to repeat them. That means that I can go into more detail. I can elaborate on things in the chapter. I can tell you about things that are not in the chapter. and I don't have to worry that I'm losing you there. So it makes life easier for you. It makes life easier for me. So make sure that you do that. And as I'm going to tell you again and again, the first thing you have to do is register for My Marketing Lab. Very important to do that right away. Please don't wait to do that. There is, pardon me, there is a document under Files in Canvas that tells you exactly how to register, and it also provides the course code that you need to do that. So there's no reason not to do that right away. Again, I'm not going to remind you to register for my lab. If you don't register for it, you won't be able to take the quizzes. Unlikely that you'll be able to pass the course. Okay. Another thing that I'll point out here is that when you take those quizzes, this is a great way to study, because if you miss one of the answers, my lab will tell you exactly where in the chapter that answer is given. So you can just go back and take a look at that material. You can take the quiz again and again and again if you have to. All you need to do is to pass the quiz with a grade of 70 or above. If you get a 70 or above, you're done. You're welcome to keep taking it until you get 100. That's up to you. All you need to do is pass it with a grade of 70. And again, you can take it as many times as you need to get to that point. I urge you to print out those quizzes after you're finished. I will not be able to open them back up later. So if you ask me to reopen a quiz before a test so you can study from that quiz, I'm going to have to say to you, as I reminded you, and it's in the syllabus, I'm not able to open that up. So just print it as you go and you shouldn't have a problem. Okay, so the first quiz, we're not going to do any quizzes in 1 or 2. The first quiz starts with chapter 3. That is for practice. That won't count toward your quiz grade. But if you have any problems completing the quiz, that's a good time for you to go to technical support if you have to and say, hey, I'm having trouble here. Because by the time we get to chapter 4, that's when I'll be counting the grades. Okay? All right. All this is about deadlines. And again, I take deadlines very seriously. It's not fair to your fellow classmates if you say to me, oh, I forgot about this. I missed this deadline. Can I please do it now? I'm going to tell you no, because your classmates had to make the deadline. Okay, as it says here, the quizzes will open a week in advance of the day we start that chapter. So just make sure to mark on your calendar that a week in advance of, let's say, chapter 4 is what we're covering. Make sure that you take the quiz sometime in that week. The latest you can do it is 1 hour before our class starts. So if you go 10 minutes before class and think you're going to take the quiz, you're going to be disappointed. The quiz will be closed and I won't be able to open for you. Okay. In addition to the quizzes, there's a lot of great tools in my marketing lab. The reason I'm asking you to use my marketing lab is not only for the quizzes, but to give you access to a lot of these other materials. You'll see lots of study aids in there. I've listed some of them here. There's what are called dynamic study modules. Take a good look at those. It's basically an outline of the chapter, and I think you'll find that helpful. By the way, an outline of the notes of the PowerPoint slides that I'm going to be using in lectures is also available in my lab under Files. So you won't see a lot of the examples that I use, like advertisements and so on, but you'll see most of the text that's there, which means that you don't necessarily need to write down everything that I'm saying as I'm lecturing. There are also these other study aids, flashcards. A lot of students find it helpful to study with flashcards. There are chapter warm-ups that will give you a sense of what we're going to be covering, videos that are real-life examples of companies that have implemented some of the concepts we'll be discussing in that chapter, and simulations that actually take you through the decision-making process that companies use. Pardon me. Okay, class participation. This becomes even more crucial during this high flex format because I can't necessarily see all of you when you're on Zoom. If I'm in the classroom, I have a lot of trouble seeing who is talking at me, but I'm going to ask you to do your best to participate, whether you're on Zoom or whether you're sitting in the class. Okay, and to make sure of that, I am going to be using an app that I discovered, which I really like. That you may not like it so much, but just to make sure that everybody's listening and paying attention, this app will randomly pull names from the class roster. And from time to time, I'll do that and make sure that you're listening, okay? Please make sure that when you're in the physical classroom, I'm going to be giving you a name tag to fill out. Please make sure to use that every single time. I want to do my best to learn your name. It's even harder with social distancing and all that. So please make sure that you have your name tent displayed at every class. Okay, the rest of this about participation, you can read. Please make sure you do that. How is the class set up? So there's basically two kinds of class sessions that we're going to have. One is what I call a think session. One is what I call a do session. So as the name implies, during the think session, that's where I'm going to mostly be lecturing, although I hope that you'll be participating then as well. But in the do session, I'm going to be running that as more of a hands-on group discussion kind of thing. And during that session, I'm going to ask for volunteers to share the results of what they found from the various field exercises that they've done, which I'll talk about next. Okay, so you're not going to just be watching me talk to you on Zoom for the entire semester. We're going to try to get as much hands-on stuff going as we can. Okay, the field exercises, again, these will open up under Files in Canvas. Pardon me, it's a doozy. There's a total of 9 of them. Each of them is just a small way for you to actually get out, and instead of just reading about what consumers do, you're going to have the opportunity to actually see it for yourself. So each one is basically a small exercise. In some cases, like the one that's due on Thursday, yes, the first one is due on Thursday. It is going to ask you just to maybe ask people some questions, observe what they're doing, or in other cases, come up with some cool examples of things that we're talking about in class. These are graded as pass-fail. You need to submit these on Canvas no later than 1 hour before the class in which that exercise is assigned. Okay, so they're pretty easy to do. I think you'll enjoy them, and hopefully you'll enjoy seeing not only what you found, but what some of your classmates found as well. Okay, the instructions are here about how you submit that report. In addition, you can present, as I said, pardon me, take that back. We're going to be presenting those field exercises in class beginning on Thursday. Okay, the tests, I've gone through this. We have a strict honor code, as we do throughout the university. That's especially important when we're taking tests online, and you can read about that here. Okay, we do have a final exam. It's comprehensive. It will cover all 14 chapters in the book, but don't panic. It's only going to really hit the high points, and my experience is that most students do quite well on the final without too much work if they've been keeping up throughout the semester. All right, next we have a group project. I'm not going to get into the weeds on this today. I'm going to let things settle in. You've got enough to process for now, but I think you're going to enjoy the group project, which is going to challenge you to apply the things that we're learning in the class to a real world product that your group is going to propose. All right, so I'm going to skip over that. I'm going to take some class time in a week or two and go through more of this. All right, I'm just going to skip all the way down there. Skipping, skipping, skipping. extra credit opportunities. I am the king of extra credit. As the name implies, these are optional. So you can choose to do none of them. You can choose to do all of them. But I've given you lots of different ways to earn extra credit. I can tell you my experience is that extra credit points often make a significant difference in a grade. I can't promise that, but there are often times when a student's average easily bumps up to the next half grade level, at least, if not more, say from a B to a B plus, etc. Pardon me. These are all listed here. Again, the syllabus quiz is the only one that will be closing by the end of the week. So another one is current examples. As we're going through the course, whenever you come across an example, and when you're watching a video or whatever it is you're doing on social media, etc., if you find an example of something that we're talking about in class, the instructions are here to just write that up in a very brief report, submit it to me. I'll give you 1/10 of a point for each one of those you submit. I think the coolest extra credit that I've come up with is that I will allow you to write your own test questions. How's that? So a week before each test, I'm going to, that will be the deadline. I'm going to ask you to submit any test questions that you want. The format has to be multiple choice, and it has to be on material that we cover in class, not in the book. I'll worry about the test questions that are in the book. Anything we discuss in class, examples that I talk about, anything else that may or may not be in the book, probably isn't in the book, is fair game. So the instructions are here to do that. I'll talk more about it before the first test. But for every one of those questions, if it's in the right format, etc., I'll give you 1/10 of a point for submitting that. And if I like the question enough, I will actually put it on the test. And if I do so, I'll give you another 1/10 of a point. So not only are you getting 2/10 of a point for every test question there, but presumably when you take the test and your question comes up, hopefully you know the answer and you'll get that one right. These other two are a bit more involved. You can read about them. These are challenges that really, they're kind of like field projects, and you can read about those. You'll have all semester to do those. You also have the option of presenting your work in class. If you give me advance notice that you'd like to present, I'll give you a minute or two to present to everybody what you found. And in that case, I'll add 3/10 of a point to the 5/10 of a point I'm giving you for that challenge, just for doing that. And again, I think you'll find these very interesting. So for example, social media detox is something that we can all use from time to time. Okay, so all the rest here is details about these things. So I'm not going to read those here. How to get a good grade in the class, I'll let you read that. As I say here, if you're interested, you can look under files in Canvas. You'll see a file named How Did You Do It? These are former A students who have taken this class and are telling you how they did it. So if you want to get some insights about how to approach the class, by all means, take a look at those answers. Okay, class policies, the usual stuff. You can use your devices in class if you're using them to take notes, or perhaps were you actually using them for some kind of a project. Otherwise, of course, if you're just updating your status on Facebook or uploading a TikTok video, I ask that you not do that. Okay. Academic honesty, very, very important. I take this very, very seriously. Please make sure to read the policy on plagiarism and the policy on taking tests online. Okay, we have information on health and wellness, including counseling services as we weather the storm here for COVID. Additional resources are here if you need them. All right, here we have the schedule. I've laid this out in a fair amount of detail. The schedule is subject to change, but I will give you always advance notice of that. Okay, so as you can see here, we can see the topic that we're going to cover on a certain day. We see the chapter that you need to read. You can see the assignments that are related. So for example, on Thursday, please try to register for my marketing lab. The first field exercise is due on Canvas, and you should record all the due dates in your calendar as I've suggested. In addition, if you have any preferences for group members that you want to work with, that's something else you should send me by Thursday. Okay, and you can see, as I've listed here, the quizzes that are due, the dates that they're due, the dates that field exercises are due. So for example, if a quiz is due on February 4th, then the week before that, that is January 28th, the quiz will open. You'll have that entire week to pass the quiz up to an hour before class starts. The dates here are given for the tests, etc. And you can see some days say think, some days say do. So obviously on the days that say do, those are most likely going to be days we meet virtually because we'll be doing group work. All right. The rest of this, let's see. Well, I've got a bio on myself in case you're interested in my background. I've been doing this for a long time. I've had a lot of great experiences, worked with a lot of really wonderful companies, etc. And you can see some of that here. I'll be sharing some of these experiences with you as I think of them while I'm talking. I do tend to go off on these tangents, but I try to make the tangents relevant to what we're talking about. So essentially, my PhD is in psychology. I'm a consumer psychologist, and I'm very interested in how we relate to brands. And I've worked, as I said, with a lot of companies to help them understand how to become more consumer-centric, to understand from the consumer's perspective what it means to buy brand X. So again, I'll talk a lot about that. You're welcome to read all of this. I do a fair amount of media. I write for Forbes.com. Sometimes I'm on radio shows and podcasts. If something's coming up that's relevant, I'll try to let you know in case you want to watch. And you're free to read all of this stuff. Okay, so I think that about covers it. This is the boring stuff, right? This is just the stuff that we need to get the course moving. And I just want to make sure today that everybody is really set, that you understand this. I want to make sure that you read chapter 1, which is an introduction to consumer behavior. And please send me any questions, email me any questions that you might have on anything I've talked about, anything that's in the syllabus that you don't understand. And your group members, if you want me to put you with your friends, all that good stuff. So what we're going to do on Thursday is, again, we'll all be meeting virtually, but I'm going to talk a bit about the field of consumer behavior, some of the really important trends that we're seeing. It's a moving target. It's a fascinating time, certainly, to be studying consumer behavior. So we're going to get into some of that. And then in the second part of our session together on Zoom, I'm going to ask for some of you, for volunteers, hopefully to share the interviews that you've done. I'm asking each of you in field project number 1 to interview 2 other people about a purchase that they made. All of the instructions are there. You'll see it. You'll see it under field project number 1. Make sure that you do that. And I'm just going to ask you to share what you found, what was particularly interesting if some insight came out of what you found. And I think you'll find it interesting just to ask other people some very basic questions about, hey, you bought this thing. Why did you buy it? What were the circumstances? And that is our first step toward understanding consumer behavior. So I'm going to stop here before my voice gives out totally. Hopefully by Thursday, I should be pretty well recovered, I think. But thanks for putting up with all this. I'm looking forward to a great semester and to meeting you all in person and to convincing you that consumer behavior is, in fact, not only the most important marketing course you're going to take, but the most important course you're going to take in the How Business School. All right, I'll see everybody next time. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.